Good evening, everybody. Michael Devine here, Gray Matters Radio, America's Counselor. Welcome to another installment. What does America's Counselor even actually do? Well, parents, you haven't really realized it. America, it's kind of in a bad place right now. People are fighting, Democrats, Republicans. It's like a freaking civil war. If there's ever a time America needs marital counseling, well, frankly, it's now. That's what Gray Matters is. A show like every good therapy session, situated somewhere in between the gray area. I'm your host, Michael Devine. Naturally, I couldn't do this alone. It's just way too difficult of a job for me to basically do. So I need some help. Bill Reed, armchair quarterback, best friend, 30 years. What's up, man?
I'm a big helper. You know, I try to, that's what I'm here for. How you doing?
You try to help.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you cause more trouble than what it's worth.
Help. You know, one of those H's.
We all try to help each other out, right?
Yeah.
So Bill's one of those friends, where, I have a little problem.
One of those friends.
I overstep the line sometimes.
Habitually.
I'm a habitual, well, not anymore. I used to be a habitual line stepper. So I'm a passionate kind of guy. I have a lot of emotion, and sometimes I hold that emotion in. Now, I know America's Counselor. I should know better, but sometimes I just let it kind of rip, and sometimes what I say is true. Sometimes maybe it isn't true. Maybe it's at an angle. I don't know. That's what happens when you blow everything up. So that's what Bill's for. He's there to kind of go, now, Mike, you're a passionate guy. Maybe you shouldn't be saying those things.
I've said that once or twice over the years to groups of people after you have.
You have,
Which is, that's what I'm here for.
It's funny. I work a lot with, college kids, young adults, and they're always asking me, they're like, hey, Mike, what are you like? And I'm like, I don't have any problems. I know what you're talking about. And, when I always try to tell them, like, hey, listen, I'm just like you. We all got problems. And if I only maybe took more of my own advice, then hey, I'd maybe be in a lot better spot. But I think sometimes we have to make mistakes. We learn where the lines are, and you hopefully try to learn from it. That's what I try to do. And that's what the show is about. It's America. We've messed up on a lot of things. There's a lot of good things that we did, but hey, we all need counseling sometimes. We all need someone to give it to us straight, maybe tell us there's a different way of doing something. And, maybe people hear what it is that we have to say.
Now, you had mentioned earlier about problems and things like that and people having them. Now, in your professional opinion, is it like the rap song says, do you think that mo money equals mo problems, or is that just a catchy tagline?
You know what? I think the problems change. And the reason why I think that is, you'll notice a lot of times when you're like poor, or you're, there's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of times you always have the ability to sit there and go, well, hey, if just I had a little bit more money, if I had that promotion, or if I had this car, or I had that, things would be better. So you always have the ability to hold out hope that if I had this thing, it would completely make me better. The problem is, though, is that you get there and you have everything everyone's told you that you need. You got it. Everything that you need that is going to make you happy, everything that's going to be to complete you. And then you realize it doesn't. It was almost like climbing to the top of Mount Everest your whole life, only to get to the top and realize there's a million more miles out there and it wasn't so special. And that's what makes people really depressed. I think that's why I see guys, like we see all these celebrities where they have everything, and then we hear about them overdosing on heroin. I was watching this, it was on Reels. It's like, it started off as like the Hallmark Channel of like awful reenactments, but then they've actually gotten a lot better, and they were talking about all the celebrity deaths that we've had over the last like 5 years. I mean, opiate deaths, suicide.
Well, they got, I think depression and extra income can be
dangerous. It's really, really sad. And what's really sad is, like, on the outside, they come across one way. My wife and I saw Rocket Band on Friday. And Elton John was one of my favorite artists, right?
Is that as good as advertised?
It's awesome. And it was sad because here's this person where he's wrote this most amazing music, and he was just a very troubled, sad, broken man on the inside. And it was so sad. And
Elton John.
But that's life, though. That's really what I see in my office a lot. And you have to understand people. There's always more to the story than what needs to be told. And I think, honestly, I think that's a good segue. In tonight's show, I wanted to, I've been wanting to talk a lot about millennials and just even just the idea of like young men, masculinity, just because in my practice, I made a practice out of seeing young adults. I literally wrote a book called Failure to Launch. It's about that age group that just isn't doing much of anything. It's also an age group where I see a lot of depression, a lot of addiction, just a lot of I'm lost. I don't know what I want to do. Sometimes they're too smart for their own good. I call it like smart kid syndrome, where it's almost like you get this 14-year-old that kind of looks at the world the way that it is and kind of go like, it's all BS. It's like, why go to college? Why do all this stuff? And I know that makes half you guys are miserable anyway. And so why am I going to do it and then really go in debt? But yet they're so young and they have no experience. So it's like they understand the world a lot, but then they have no experience and no power, which makes them miserable. And so, and so I see a lot of that. And let's be honest, I see a lot of millennials. I see a lot of Gen Y, that age group. And in case you haven't realized it, if you're not in that age group, which most of us aren't, I don't think any of us are, it's kind of like an age group that really has gotten the short end of the stick. So I'm going to start with Bill. We're going to go around here. We got some different guests in here today, right? So I sometimes you got to get a panel kind of rolling. It's like a like a revolving door of guests. All right, to my right, I got Phil Murphy. What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Yeah. We got Chris Hutchinson. What's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
Yeah.
Bless my podcast cherry here tonight.
I know you kind of are, man. Yeah. You listen to a lot of them. I mean, it's not that different than listening to it. You're just saying your thought out loud, and then just a couple thousand people might hear it and go, "It's the dumbest thing I ever heard."
Listening to you, judging you.
Yeah. So we'll
Hello, World Wide Web.
I mean, really, we will find out. I mean, we'll get some notes about who in the hell was this ass clown. Phil's cool. Hutch, not so much.
We will be giving out Hutch's personal cell phone number later in this broadcast.
614, go fuck yourself.
614 all day. So all right. So let's start off with just our idea of millennials, right? So I'll start with Bill, the armchair, right? So Bill, when I say millennial, what age group do you kind of think of, and two, like what are the things, positive or negative, that are synonymous with millennials?
Well, I was interested to find out earlier that the millennial age group is a little bit older than what I kind of thought. It actually is from 1981.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was later than that. So
yeah.
I apologize to all you 1981 folk, because the first thing I kind of thought when you say it, millennial, is I go, ugh, because I think of, sorry, present company excluded.
Hey, I'm 83. I don't know.
But that's my point, though. I don't think of you as
I'm
a
not
millennial.
a millennial, no.
But I think of like whiny, crybaby, me. Can't change a tire. Can't, this should be free. That should be free. Hey, we all want that too.
Now, what about the negative things about millennials? Sorry, I'm sorry. I say positive and negative. It can't be all.
Positives.
This can't be.
And all jokes aside, the positive are probably a little bit even smarter, so to speak, technologically speaking, than our generation. Just a little more in tune, a little more sensitive, which can be both positive and negative depending on the situation and the person. So there are ups and downs. Maybe a little even. I don't want to say more evolved, because there are some aspects that they are severely lacking, but other parts that they have maybe evolved a little bit more. So it goes with everything. I think there's always positive and minuses. It's just never, But that's
a little bit of both, right? All right, Hutch now a little bit younger than us, so he's maybe on that cusp that he's like the rim job of millennials and Gen X. He's like he circles millennials, but he hung out with a lot of Gen Xers, so he's kind of like that millennial X, we'll call him.
I guess I was, so to speak, grandfathered into maybe that realm.
We'll let you pick. Or I guess you could like come up and go like, I'm Millennial X. What's up?
No, here's the thing is, we talked before we started this is, I always was like, which video game system did you start with? We all know the similar things that we've done together.
See,
we can relate to that.
That actually should be the test for if you're a what video game system did you start off with? That should be, if it was like Coleco, you're like an OG, right?
See, I was talking about in television earlier. Yeah. You had Coleco, I had in television. That was like the same. It's like 1983.
Now, speaking of OGs, I want to give a shout out real quickly to my boys at 710 Labs. What's up, OGs? Do indeed make better OGs.
Woo-woo.
All right,
bravo.
sorry, I had a
shout
plug
out
there. Shameless plug. Sorry. Anywho.
But, it's like, yes, I'm, born in 83, so I'm on like that early cusp of, being a millennial. I'm not a millennial. Like, I look at my brother who was 4 years difference from me, and by all means, yes, he's a millennial.
But this
he's
is
also not a D-bag.
but this is
No, I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying he's not when I think of millennial.
Well, no, he's not.
I think of skinny jean wearing.
Well, this is a big data point. He's like, don't lump me in there.
But what's that?
He's like, don't lump me into that.
No.
I mean, it's a data point.
But your brother's not like that.
Yeah.
See, but I
he probably knows some hipster doofuses, but
I hate to go off technology though. But still, at the same time, it's like I remember I got my first cell phone when I was probably 99, 2000.
Which, and how old were you then?
What was I, 16, 17?
Nice.
And then nowadays,
I got a pager when I was
just
16.
the fetus.
Yeah.
That's true.
I had a beeper when I was
So
16.
like, I was on the cusp, but at
beeper.
the same time, it's like I feel like you guys were older, but you still, you were going through the same things as I was.
Yeah.
Well, our maturity level was also lower. Let's be honest. I was 22 going on 15, maybe.
That's true. Yeah.
I still think, it's the sociable aspect of things. Like, like I feel like I can talk to anybody. All of us, we can talk to damn near strangers and not have a problem. I feel like that's definitely lacking.
And that is a big one. And I don't know how many times I've, because I work a lot with social anxiety, and I'll do like basic things like, hey, go up to customer service and turn something in. They don't want to. Call some. They don't want to. I mean, literally, there's like this aversion.
It's a catering.
The human interaction.
That's what I think of a millennial too. Is
So yeah, Murph, what do you think about millennials, man?
kind of the same thing Bill was thinking. Can't change a tire. Always whited, very sensitive. I mean, that's just how I think.
I mean, have you seen any positive aspects of it, or like what? I mean,
I don't see any positive aspects of it. But that's how I look at it.
yeah,
I see all negative.
it's.
You're a negative guy.
It's soft,
I mean, it's
like a pretzel.
and I think I try to shoot the middle. I think a lot of times my job is, I don't know, being America's concert, I'm a little different.
You're like
I gotta shoot the
Switzerland.
middle.
You do kind of
I
ride
gotta,
that line. I get it.
because like, I mean, if I were to sit there and go, hey, I think all millennials and Gen Y are a bunch of assholes, right? I'll be like, come on, that's like my clientele base. That's not fair. And I think I get a different, aspect of millennials just because I work with them so much. I get to actually talk with them, and so I think a lot of my viewpoint of them is that, yeah, I do think that they're a lot more sensitive. I think they cannot. They really have a difficult time taking feedback, and not even just like being like critical. I'm talking just feedback that you need to hear to get better at stuff. That you do see there's a defensiveness, there's a reaction to it.
Yeah, they can't take constructive criticism very well.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
100%.
And you see that cross in business, is that they have a really difficult time taking that. I think they tend to kind of externalize. It's other people's fault. It's the system's fault. I'm a victim of this, right?
Taking it personally.
Yeah.
I didn't ask to be born. That's a new one I've been hearing lately. I don't know if it was a millennial that said that. or
No,
not.
there was a big
Who the
case where
hell says that?
a kid actually tried suing his parents.
I don't know how old this guy
saying,
was.
I never asked to be born.
Yeah.
Over in England, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So say that. You
I don't know, buddy.
I know it's dumb, but that's the thing. So you do see that a lot.
Like that's something that sounds like that was invented strictly for millennials and this newer generation.
Yeah.
Like,
That's like picking your parents.
I still feel like we've made
They're cooler. I want them.
But
yeah.
our older generation, I feel like, has maybe created loopholes. So then
I agree.
this younger
So,
generation
this is where-
we coddle them, and
So this is where it starts getting really interesting. So one is be working with it, just doing a lot of research. And what got me on this whole high horse, I mean, everyone's always talking about it. But, they started looking at who is really to blame for millennials. Now, there's like a really great book that's out there. It's by Dr. Jean Twenge. She's a psychologist out at San Diego State. Now, what's interesting is Dr. Twenge saw some of this kind of coming in the 70s. So she does a lot of developmental psychology, like how do you develop as you get older. And so she basically from I think it was 76 on, every incoming freshman at San Diego State University, they take a narcissism questionnaire. It's the same one that every single student has gotten since 1976. And so she's been looking at narcissism levels. And she started noticing every single year, every incoming fresh group, narcissism levels went up, right? And what they defined it as being a lot more self-focused, lack of understanding and empathy for other people, feelings of self-worth that are over-exaggerated, that aren't necessarily based upon anything else. And what her theory was that the self-esteem movement, and it started when we were Gen Xers. I remember going in elementary school. Remember Cold Pricklies, guys? And Warm Fuzzies?
Yes.
Right?
Dude.
I remember
Cold Pricklies.
Yeah, I remember distinctly. It was like the first three, maybe third, fourth grade. It was like, if you didn't win, you weren't getting a trophy. It was like first place, second place, third place, right? Yeah. Then all of a sudden, you start noticing everyone was getting medals. Everyone got a trophy.
Well, field days had ribbons for everyone, but they had the blue ribbon was for first place, the red ribbon was for second place, third place. I still have somewhere like a fifth or sixth.
I still have mine.
But it was right. I heard what you're saying though. But there was actual distinction between the champions. And
if you're a winner or a loser,
and literally. And so a lot of our parents were baby boomers, and it was very much like they grew up in an era where it was like you turn 18. It wasn't, hey, honey, you pick what you want to do for a living and you be happy. It was like, I don't care what you do. You're either going to go to school, which you're going to pay for, maybe go into the family business. You're going to go to Vietnam.
I was just going to say.
Either way, it was like, good luck, right?
Knocks.
Ho Chi Minh City is looking for you.
And I remember talking to my dad about this, and one of the things that he said was that, and it was they call it emerging adulthood, which is like that period of like 18 to 20 something. And he goes, that was like our gift to you guys. We grew up in an era where it kind of sucked, and we didn't have the option of doing what we were happy. We maybe have made a good amount of money to support our families, but we hate it. So if we can give you guys the ability to go off to college, find what you want to do, and be happy, that's our gift to you. But the problem was, though, everything started becoming with the self-esteem movement. We started basically raising a generation of kids who really had no idea how to handle negative emotion. How we learned how to handle it was disappointment. You build up a tolerance to it. It's called ego strength. It's emotional stamina. You learn from it. I mean, because you got to look at mistakes are really, really important things. You have to, by screwing up, you learn why you screwed up, and then you put something in place so you don't do it again. And so we raised a generation of kids who never know how to deal with a mistake. Everything had to be about feeling good at the expense of learning how to deal when things were bad. And I mean, building kids up is a good thing, but when we went so far in the direction, as Dr. Twin said, was that these kids had this overinflated sense of self that I'm different, I'm special, I'm awesome, and it wasn't really based on anything. We never taught them how to deal with disappointment. And then we gave them this emerging adulthood period of you do what you want to do and be happy and live life to your fullest. And it was great for a little bit, but then it started doubling down, and then you had the internet, and then all of a sudden we get Gen Xers like us who basically were kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And then all of a sudden you get millennials where, they don't know how to feel. And the thing is, why would they know how to take feedback? They also grew up in a generation where it was the first generation where the parents wanted to be cool. They wanted to be the cool parent, right?
They weren't Red Foreman.
Well, and the thing is, though, you get a lot of parents, and I've seen this. You ask any teachers, and I guarantee if any one of us have elementary teachers or high school teachers, friends, ask them what is it like when they try to tell the parent they did something wrong. They take it personal. I grew up in an era where even if your teacher was wrong, it was your fault. Whereas now, teachers get treated like hired help.
Yeah.
In that, they can't take it because if their kid is an asshole or is doing something wrong, that means I'm a bad parent. They can't handle it.
The system has failed them.
And they blame it on them, and the kids see that, right? So we're really looking at, we're yelling at millennials. We're blaming millennials for being the way they are. But the reality is, though, it's not technically their fault. They were raised by a generation of parents, and let's be honest, the internet, and we made them this way, right? And then as Bill was saying, and I tend to agree with it, you talk to a lot of people that hate millennials, they'll go through all the negatives, but then immediately they'll start sliding into but they are that smart, though. That's the thing. They are smarter than any of us are. They know how to use technology better than us. But the problem is that they're so impatient. They're not, they want it and they want it now. Number two, when they talk about what's most important to them, they did a survey among millennials. What's most important thing with your job? Work-life balance. Doing work that you're passionate about that resonates with what you care about and what's meaningful to you. Vacation time, benefits. Now, how many people around the room here are going to sit there and go, I love my benefits. Yes, my company takes care of me. I believe a lot in what it is that I'm doing. I mean, that's the reality. You got to work hard
Could be
for
better.
that. Yeah. You got to look at
Officially, I love my employer, and I will work for you until the day I die. Unquote.
Shout out to Chase. Thank you for supporting me for the last 7 years.
But that's the thing. I mean, like, now, our jobs, jobs, I'm sure it provides for your family. And I think you guys grew up in an era where it's like, okay, like, I'm going to do it. I may not be happy with it. I know for me, I got screwed over with a corporate job, and I was so angry, so pissed off about it. I'm like, I'm not going to work in corporate America. I don't care if I got to spend the next 5 years building up my practice and making nothing. And I worked 80 hours. I worked like 2 jobs. I was building my practice up on the side. I worked my ass off
You're
for that.
kind of a, one thing.
Passion,
kinda
dedication.
Off the topic, but I got to tell you, you are kind of a workaholic. I mean, you work a lot of hours now.
Oh, dude, I'm totally
That's a great show, by the
yeah.
way.
What's that?
That's a great show, by
Oh,
the way.
yeah, absolutely. I need to bring that back.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm totally a workaholic. I mean, I grew up with my workaholism has kind of changed though. I think it started off, I think, very much in that anxiety. If I don't work enough, I'm not going to have enough money, and everything's
Fear
going to
of
fall
failure.
apart. Yeah. But then, I've done my own therapy, and I've worked on myself a lot. And I think there was a period there where I think I really had a decent balance, but then it was immediately kind of, I guess, replaced by just being so frustrated with the world the way that it is. As a therapist, when I started feeling like I'm basically like a clinician working with soldiers who come in on their lunch break in between battles, and then I try to help them process and but then I send them right back off into battle again to have the same damn problems. And it's like, basically, when I started looking at therapy, like, it's almost like Kevlar vest. That's when I was like, I got to do something more. And if it's going to take me the next 3 or 4 years to build it up to where I can slide over and start relying on that, well, then that's what I'm willing to do. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make because I believe so strongly. And so when I see millennials kind of going, hey, I want to do work that's meaningful to me. Hey, you know what? I want to do something. I want to work for a company that values me. I believe in that. I think all of us do. I think the only problem is that they're so impatient. They're willing to, they'll hop jobs every 6 months. They're willing to, based upon overestimating where they're at in life, or I don't like the system. I hate the way that it is, but I want to demand that it changes now. That's where I think some of the problems are. I mean, but I don't know. That's my clinician perspective. And I'm going to shoot the hutch over there, man. So like you've worked, once again, you're kind of that rim job of millennials and Gen Xers.
And if anyone's a rim job knows about those.
You work in you work in a corporate environment, right?
True.
And
Yes.
I would say in a financial corporate environment, it's literally defined by working your butt off, working your way up. I mean, what do you kind of see? I mean, do you have your own different perspective of why millennials are the way they are? And then when you look at the work world, and do you see kind of that playing out?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the last part of what you said, I think, technology, like I said, I hate to keep talking about this, but technology has given our younger generation everything so fast, so quick.
Yeah.
So these kids, yes, they can't deal with stagnant time, which is where we grew up with, like, oh, you have to deal with the mail. You have to say you wanted to watch internet porn, it would take you forever to load whatever you wanted.
Literally,
it takes...
I remember one time downloading a dial-up porn on my computer, and it looked kind of good. And of course, it took like 30 minutes. Right, download 4 pictures. I remember brought up my friend, I'm like, dude, I got you, dog. Right, took it over to his computer, and he loaded it up because it was like an old computer. It was like it was RGB, red, green, blue, and pixelated. Yeah. And it was like, he's like, this is fucking awesome. I'm like, dude, you should have saw that shit at my house.
Yeah.
But
anyways, they have everything at the tip of their fingertips.
Yeah.
So yes, so they become impatient. They become
accustomed to that.
Yeah, they become accustomed to that. And
it's like when
I have myself as well.
Well, look at it. It's like a child that's like born into royalty, and you have butlers, and you have servants, and of course there's a very strong chance that you're going to be, Prince Hakeem. We're all lucky that he turned out to be a good guy.
Yeah.
But, he very much could have been an asshole.
The royal penis is clean, right?
That's kind of my point. I mean, it kind of does scale down.
Yeah. Do you have sex with the bathers? I do.
But, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, everything's at our fingertips at this point, where we had to wait for everything. There was a sense of patience. There was a sense of, that's the main thing I think I see with millennials. It's just like, you want the answer now. Everything's so quick. And yeah, it sucks. Like,
Yeah, you see a lot of people like when you're in a store or whatever. Mainly, I think millennials, but they're always just, oh, I'm not doing anything. I got to be on my phone.
Yes.
Granted that a lot of people do
Older
that,
people like to do it too, but you're right.
but it's mostly younger people.
Look, next time you go to a stoplight, look around. I do this now. I've done this for the last 2 years. I just look around.
Everybody's
at the car
on their phone.
Yeah.
And old people, young people, but like
Go to Chipotle.
I think it's more young people.
Go to
go
Chipotle.
to
They're
a
always on their
concert.
phone, yeah.
Go to a
Dude.
concert. I saw videos from a concert last night, and there was at least,
Mike was
16
telling-
people around
Mike
taking
was
a
talking
video.
about this a couple weeks ago, where this generation today, millennials probably, where if they record something on their phone versus not recording it but just watch it. Like let's say there's a fight and you two are Hudson
Taking
and
the
Murph are
moment.
fighting,
Yeah.
and I just watch it. But Mike, instead of watching it, is recording it. He will actually
You have less of an emotion when you
Yeah, you'll
when you
process it
remember
different.
it, like so because they did it to where like they had you recorded an event and then watched it. When you recalled it, there's far less emotional connectivity to it, and that's right. It's just. And that's where, think about it. Like, we grew up, I would say, dial-up started getting big about 16. And then I'd say when I was 18, fiber optic DSL started kind of coming out.
Yeah.
And so we had like one foot in. Now, mind you, the way the brain works, 18 to 21 is almost some of the last time your brain has this it's called plasticity. It's our brain's ability to grow and adapt to its environment. And so it's really cool. I mean, think about like a computer. You buy a computer, the motherboard ain't going to get any better, right? You can install new software. Our brain, its hardware is designed to constantly grow and adapt. It just starts, it's like huge early on, and then it starts trailing off. And so the last formative years of our life, we started getting that type of internet, whereas these kids now, in the most formative years of their life, their brains developed around it. And so I think you brought up a really good point, Hutch, is that, I mean, really, can we be angry at them for making them grow up in a time where their brains developed? I want what I want, and I want it now.
So
We
much
wonder.
quicker. So much quicker.
Yeah, and we see that play out, I think, with social issues. I mean, think about it. I remember,
We
yeah,
had
look
pen
at,
pals.
I mean, think about it from
Pen
like,
pals.
I mean, I always think this one always puts in perspective. I mean, when was like Rosa Parks and all that? What, late 50s, early 60s? When a lot of the
Yes,
civil rights stuff,
that's
like,
correct,
so
early
think
60s.
about, right. And so think about how long it took to get to that point, and then how long it took to get to where, maybe, I mean, gosh, throughout the 90s, it was, I mean, it's still, depending on who you talk to, but think about how long, I mean, it took, right? Think about when we were growing up in the 90s with being gay. It was one of those things where it went from, it was never okay to, it was okay, but no one talked about it, to, oh, that's just Uncle Bob and Aunt Frank, right?
Yeah.
Transgender, same exact thing. And so we're talking 40, 50 years, but then all of a sudden, they grew up in an era where 10 years ago, it was against the law. 10 years ago, it's legal. 10 years ago, you can't do this. So they grew up even in an era of social change. Happened so quickly. But here's a problem, though. There's a lot of people alive that don't like things moving that quickly. And so, once again, that impatience. We talk about corporate culture, social culture, government culture. How much of what their impatience, and I want what I want, and I want it now, and I want change, is based upon, well, dude, 5 years ago, that was illegal. Now it's illegal everywhere. So what's the big deal?
Yeah, it's the mindset that, it's just like, can the physical body, the brain, can it keep up with how everything's going, how it's moving so fast?
It reminds me of like
Shout out to civil rights, by the way.
shout out to civil rights. That's right.
I love civil rights.
Yeah.
That's right. It reminds me of almost like television and cable. I mean, the generation before us, they had 3 channels: ABC, NBC,
Oh, yeah.
CBS.
Or radio.
Yeah.
No remote control, how to turn it, the turn dial, right? So you're more patient, you're more slow. Generation after them, we started getting cable. I remember when we got like our first real cable. We had cable, but like the first.
I remember I had a box that literally had a cable. It was a
yes,
remote control.
It was the cable.
with a cable.
We
Yeah.
got that. And I
Yeah.
remember coming home from school in elementary school when we first got the first real Time Warner box.
Yeah.
And I was like, there is, 58 channels or whatever
Now,
it
let
was,
me-
and I was blown.
now, let me ask you a
away, and I was
question.
like, holy
To
cow.
this day, I still remember what 2 channels were pay-per-view. Do you remember what channels?
Was it 99 and 100?
No, no,
I
because
don't-
I first
I
said
don't remember.
23 and 24. Now I know that. So I became,
HBO was 20.
Yeah.
I
So
remember that. We were talking about that at my work the other day.
It was the WrestleMania, I believe. Which was the WrestleMania where Randy Savage beat Hulk Hogan, I believe.
That never happened, just for the record.
Oh, they were fighting anyway.
Okay,
yeah.
that was WrestleMania.
So, and I realized,
Oh,
so the rule was back then, you had to watch it for 2 minutes, and then at 2 minutes, they would charge you. So I just kept flipping back after a minute, and then flipping back. And how I knew it worked is that every month, the bill would come in and be waiting to get my ass kicked.
Waiting.
And then it never, ever happened,
Nice.
right? Now, of course, they found a loophole to that.
Here's
They
Dick
got around
Devine.
it.
Michael, get down here.
Why is there 57 WrestleMania 12s on here?
Come get your whooping.
Miss Cleo.
I think it was my sister and her friends, Dad.
Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Miss Elizabeth.
Well, I
yeah.
mean, Miss Cleo, she did the same shit with the phone stuff.
Oh,
Call
yeah,
me
yeah.
now.
Call me now.
I remember Bill told a funny story about Hosty and his last cable bill. Remember that?
Okay,
Oh, my
okay.
God.
All right, just for the record.
I remember
All right,
that.
just for the record, we're totally going to have to edit that out.
Yeah.
We're not going to mention Hossie's name. and
We'll
his
just say that
cable
we had a
I'm not kidding.
We're just saying that
I
we had somebody who somehow watched 72 pay-per-views of the adult nature. Some of them were like 7 at a time. We didn't even have 7 pay-per-views. I don't even know how that
It
was
lasted
possible.
like 8 and 10
I will
hours.
never forget
and
the
12
bill.
hours
Yeah.
long.
Never.
Now,
forget
this
How's
is
that
what-
possible?
You know,
This
this
was
is
the quickest way to watch porn at the time, though.
apparently I don't know.
This is boring. Next.
We're in the wrong business, boys. I got to tell you.
Oh
I
god.
ran out of lotion. I'll be back.
Hey, it's the world's oldest profession.
But think about it. I mean, like, I think this illustrates how different we grew up, and I think like the point I want to drive it home to, and I think a lot of people be surprised because I rail on millennials pretty bad on this show, right? But the thing is, like, can we really blame them for being the way that they are? And now the thing is, I always tell my clients though, just because you have an understanding of what you're doing doesn't give you an excuse to not to try and continue to get better. That they're mutually exclusive. But when I do a lot of business consulting work, and a lot of what I tell people, they're going, these damn millennials. I'm like, guess what?
Damn millennials.
They are here to stay. They're your next generation of leaders. So guess
created
what?
them.
They're not like the previous generation. They're not like your generation. But guess what? They are the generation that's going to take over the company. So you got to find a way to coach them. Are they a little bit more difficult? Yes, but the payoff is that you get them to have some patience. You get them to believe in themselves. And you do it by, what are they telling you? Make them feel valued. Make them feel like their opinion matters. Make them feel like they matter to the company. You want them to come up with the next greatest idea for your company. Have it tapped into the things that are important to them that give them value.
That's a warm fuzzy, by the way.
It is,
You
but...
got a warm fuzzy.
I'm not giving it
it
to
is.
them. I'm giving it to the employers to give them a blueprint
Treat
for
them
how do you work with them.
correctly.
And it's like, you may not like to, but let's face it, right? I mean, if we look at, we're all married in this room. We love our wives, but there's times where you get frustrated. But because you want to be married, because you love them, you sit there and you bite your tongue, or you do something you never really thought you would ever do because you realize, okay, I love this person, I'm going to roll with it. We have to do the same things to millennials. We're not going to get anywhere with millennials by making fun of them. So think about it. They're so damn defensive. So what are we going to do? Make fun of them even more? If we try giving them
Yes.
if we try to
Break
give
them down.
I mean, think about it. If
And then
we try
build them back up.
If we try to give them coaching, right, and they dig their heels in, they get defensive. So then what do we do? Let's just make fun of them to their face. Let's see what happens.
Make them cry.
Get popcorn. Let's see what happens.
See, but
right?
then that there's a disconnect with that too. You make fun of them, and then they don't get it, and so nothing ever happens.
Well, that's right. It's about a blueprint. Everything is about, if you can understand somebody, you can understand what makes them tick, what they value, what their pitfalls are. You can take that as a roadmap. I mean, hell, people that are criminals will take that to use that against you. So we can use it in a positive way. But in the same breath, though, I think millennials, you guys have to realize that. Just like they need to realize you're the next incoming leaders of the company and you got to like suck it up and learn how to work with them, you guys got to realize this is the world. What I always tell clients is that, listen, if you're unhappy with the world, guess what? This is the world. And you can either choose to do something about it or just accept it and roll with it. And you're not going to accept it and roll with it. So if you care that much, do something about it. If you're angry at the education system, but you care that much about it, go to college and figure it out, right? Take responsibility for it. You don't like your student loans? Well, guess what? You owe 100 and some thousand. I owe just a little under 100,000. Guess what? I knowingly took it out. Is the system rigged? Yeah, but I chose to still get funded by a rigged system because it was a calculated risk. I'm choosing to do my attempt to try to do something about it and fix it, right? Don't sit there and complain about you should pay it back. No, you shouldn't have to pay it back. You should have to pay it back. You feel as though there needs to be reimbursement programs, then do a reimbursement. Make a reimbursement program happen. Support candidates. Do something about it. Stop complaining.
About 18 or 20 years ago, gosh, it's been that long, I had a job for like 6 or 9 months as a bill collector.
Yeah.
Right? Was appreciative for the job, but it was probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had. Like, just the job itself.
What, getting yelled at and cussed out by people?
Well, no, it wasn't even that. You really didn't get yelled at. The people didn't answer the phone. They knew you were looking for them. It was collecting on student debts, people that had gone into default. And out of 100 phone calls you'd make, maybe 2 people, 3 people a day would actually pick up, because all these people, they'd get called multiple times a day. They knew, they knew. Come on, they knew. So one time I got a hold of this lady, I believe it was a lady, and it was
I believe it was a lady.
Well, it must have been the first time that she'd been contacted about her default of student loans, because usually you get a hold of them the first time, but then once they know the number, you don't answer anymore, right?
Yeah.
So you'll get like the first time ever, and this must have been the first time, and I called and told her, and I said, hey, I'm calling from wherever, and your student loan has gone in default, which means now technically it is due in full, and it was for $20,000 or $50,000, whatever the thing is. Now, obviously, we know you're not going to write a check for $50,000, because otherwise you wouldn't have gone in default in the first place. But that's what the scare tactic you use. And I said to her, "Now we can't put you on a repayment program and get you
back." Why
back."
Are you trying to scare people, Bill?
I'm just telling you what it was back in like the year 2000. I'm sure it's different now, but anyway,
the year 2000.
My point is, this lady said to me, and I believed her because just her tone of her voice was just so like stunned. She was like, "Student loan?" She goes, "I never even graduated. I don't owe that." And I went, "What?" That was the mentality. And that was back in like 2000. She was like completely surprised that they were asking for their money of tens of thousands of dollars that she had taken out to go to school. And she was like, I didn't even graduate.
But see,
That's your fault.
I'm like, and?
But this is what we were actually.
Whose fault is that?
I remember that to this day. Like, I don't know.
We were actually, but we were talking about this on the Voice of the Radical Center today. We were more talking about privacy and Facebook and Google and all that. And one of the things, I don't know, Max Miller, one of our hosts, he kind of felt ganged up because Ginger and I were like kind of going completely against it. I'm like, you know what? All right, there's a 15 freaking page term of service agreement that you do with everything, right? It was there. Now, was it our fault for not reading it? Yeah. But the thing is, it's like,
you have no choice.
We can sit there and go like, well, they're using our...
as well about this big push for a minimum, this minimum salary or this minimum hourly wage of $15 an hour, which in theory sounds great. My take on it is, instead of being this champion for this $15 an hour minimum wage, I think Bernie and other people and young people should be pushing for limits on tuition. Tuition to college seems to be going up every year, every 2 years. I mean, just this. How much is the average tuition a year now?
I mean, dude, what
20,000, 30.
Well, that's only like private schools, and that's
what normal people can afford this.
So that's the
what
thing.
I'm saying. Why is it so unaffordable?
I would say roughly, what was it? Between, I would say,
but, I mean, OSU,
10 to 15.
Yeah, 10 to 15
a year, though.
First of all, how much credit do you have?
But that's my point, though. Like, instead of focusing on these minimum wage and saying, well, these loans should be forgiven, which maybe they should, but what I'm saying is, why don't we focus on why the price gouging? Why you are paying $200 for a textbook?
This is
the hell.
So here's the problem.
They still use textbooks.
But I'm just saying though.
But I mean,
just
but
like the medical field bill. Same thing.
When we were in college, that's what they were trying for a book. How can you look me now and tell me this book costs $200?
But no, that's the thing, and so
you
that
gotta have it.
So that's my point, though.
You gotta have it.
And that's not price gouging.
See, that was then, though.
Yeah, but
who's now? You could get all this stuff all digital.
But
so
that's just
no.
one
See, they've
thing,
actually did it even more dirty now. Now it's you only buy the book for a year.
Shut.
You buy a license now. You can
old.
choose to buy the license for a year, a 2 year, and you're paying the same amount. So now, I mean, dude, I mean, it's even worse. So like, but no, Bill's a point. But then the thing is, though, this is where it's tough in government, is because it's not all the same. Because I want the Otterbein. I paid $20 a year when I want the Otterbein. Now it's close to $30. The thing is, though, they're so tight on their budget because they go, we only got like 1,100 students. Imagine if we have 100 students that don't come. Do the math. It's 200. I mean, what is that? $200 some $1,000. Or that $2 million, right?
That's one specific example, but I'm talking across the board, though. I mean,
but that's the problem, is that if you have one rule, a private university is going to go, well, we're barely staying above water, where you have a system like Ohio.
Private should be able to charge, but I'm talking
but
like a
so
public.
this is the
Why
dilemma,
should
though.
private charge more?
But this is the
Columbus State
dilemma,
has a
though.
They shouldn't
teacher
charge more, but they shouldn't be.
Yeah, but this is the
I got
dilemma,
one.
though, is that people are. So I chose Otterbein because they had such a good psych program. I could get individual attention with my professors, which I need because I was ADD. But to get into grad school, they had a great psych program. I could do research. I strategically was like, this is where I want to go. I got into University of Denver for grad school. I didn't go there because I was never going to get in-state tuition. It was going to be too expensive. So when you strategically place it, the problem is when you get someone that goes to NYU, pays $35, $40 a year with room and board for a elementary education degree, it will never ever pay off. But rule of thumb I always tell clients is, whatever you think your salary is going to be, that's what you pay on all your education. You think you're going to make over $100,000, pay $100,000 because it will pay off. But it's all these people going to these private schools that just they weren't strategic at all with it. They took all this extra money out, and they could have gotten a good education and focused in on internships and work and all that. That's the reality. And that's what I think. You can't just come up with an issue. I am on the opposite end. I think you don't go after the, price caps or whatever. I think you use the tax code when you were talking about minimum wage, right? You said, all right, we're going to make everyone have a minimum wage. Now, screw that. I go, if you're a company and your CEO is, let's say, making, let's say $30 million a year, right?
We're all making $30 million.
And I think your company, Diamond, is making what, 80, 90 mil a year?
Plus you got shares, he's got stocks.
Yeah,
like he's making
but here's the way I look at it,
much
right?
money.
So you have a ratio between what your upper C-level suite people are making and all your other average hourly people. You look at how many people have you hired? How much do you pay them, the hourly wage of your lower people, the benefits you give them? Have you outsourced? Have you insourced? Whatever. Have you grown? I say, just like with your kids, are you going to give your kid their allowance if they haven't done their chores? Nah, fuck that, right? Make them earn the tax rate. For far too long, government has been held hostage. People have been held hostage by the work world going, if you don't give us this tax rate, if you don't do this, bad things are going to happen. And guess what? They always keep it for themselves. The tax cut, the corporate tax cut, most of it went towards stock buybacks, right? So the reality is then, make them earn that tax cut. Hey, you want a tax cut? Raise the lower living wage of your people and I'll give you a tax break. You outsource jobs, bring it back. You got in a crunch between your labor unions and Mexico labor. Tell you what I'll give you a tax cut that's equal to keeping those jobs here. Make them earn it. If they choose then not to, it means you make it choice. You can do what the hell it is that you want. You want to run your business the way that you do. All I'm saying is, you want a tax cut, you got to earn that tax cut.
Well, see, here's the funny thing, though. Those CEOs of these ginormous companies, such as the one I work for, which is amazing, by the way. Thank you for supporting me. But at the same time, these guys are just there. They're just public speakers. They don't really actually do work. Like, people think they might sit
They're
here
like
and
the Joe
crunch
Paterno.
numbers. Like, as you
Just
grow
there.
up in corporate
Well,
society, it's just more or
molesting.
less maintaining people.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
You're not
agree.
really
They're the head-
actually
they're the head
doing
coach.
Yeah,
work.
especially
I
the
get it.
bigger
I
you
understand.
get, right?
You're speaking up.
You know,
You're
they're the
talking about
figurehead,
You're having somebody regurgitate
And the thing
information
is-
to you, and then you're getting paid
Yeah.
But
18 million times more than
But here's the bottom
your
line,
lowest
though.
paid worker.
Everyone at this table, somewhere where to be worked, did work, whatever. We know all these things. We hear all these things. We deal with all of it. But at the end of the day, we work our jobs. We realize the way the world is, and it's like, all right, I'm going to try to change it. I'm going to try to change it for the better, right? I mean, that's why Bill's on the show. That's why you're even coming in on here, the conversation. That's why Murph is here. It doesn't matter how educated we're, not educated, our life experience, what we do, what we make for a living. Everyone that's here, and I think everyone we interact with, realizes the world can be a much better place. We're not happy with the way the world is. We all got kids. We're raising kids in this world. But the thing is, we also realize this is how it is. And it's easier to change the system from the inside, and we have to accept it and acknowledge it. And guess what? We want to change the system. Chances are, majority of it, we're not even going to feel any of the added benefit. It's just our security of knowing that our kids are going to have it better. And we're willing to do that. And that's the one thing I'm pleading with millennials is that we need you guys. We need your intelligence. We need your passion. We need, I mean, I love the fact that you guys are sitting there going, work-life balance is more important. I'm sitting there looking at work life, slowing down, being with friends, actually caring about what you do. Not being cool if your company is doing things that is really messed up. I love that. I think that it would be the biggest tragedy that if we sucked all that out of them and turned them into robots. It's just a matter of going, hey, you guys care so much about it. It's going to take time to get us there and have patience, work the system. Understand this is where it's at. Understand that there's a lot of people out there that aren't cool with things moving fast, and a lot of them are in positions where you have to convince them. Wait it out. Pick your time. Pick your place. Because if you guys do that, you guys will see that. And the thing is, you'll see that stuff really quickly. If you guys can be in an uproar and get on social media and end a show or get someone fired because of what they said or get a product, a company to stop sponsoring somebody or a company's, like La Croix, that water, like they found it was artificial and then I think it's going to go out of business now, right?
Is it French?
I have no idea. It tastes like crap. That's all I know.
I don't know if I've ever had that.
LaCroix.
I don't
LaCroix.
know that
I don't
I've
know.
ever-
Dude, it tastes awful, man.
Does it really?
It came back out of nowhere because millennials loved it, right? So
Oh,
the thing is, like,
okay.
if you guys
Tap
can
water.
do that and organize and make change, well, it's like do the same damn thing, but do it with the world the way that it is. Don't lose that passion. Don't lose that energy. Just find a way of being patient and using it. And then everybody else, if you're not in that generation, that's Gen Xers, the baby boomers that haven't retired, this is the future. Suck it up. Deal with it. Coach them. Guess what? At one point in time, we were all a-holes. But we all had probably one person in our lives that went, it could have been a friend, it could have been, it don't matter, that went, dude, come on, man. You got to figure your shit out. And it was delivered to us in a way. And I know for myself, it was grad school. I had a professor. I had a girl I was in school with, and we were engaged. It didn't work out. I was embarrassed. I was angry. I was pissy. I was arrogant. I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I remember he told me, he was like, man, it's like, I hear you saying all the things, but it's like, I don't know if your arm's like distance. You have like this veneer, and I can't get through it. And if, and he kept saying, because he kept wanting me to be more emotional, present with my clients, because you film, you film all your tapes and you show it and you watch it and you kind of get critiques, right? And I'd get defensive and I'd get so in my head about explaining why I was right using theory, and then just I wasn't taking the feedback, and then I was trying to be emotional, and I'd be more cerebral about it. I'd be more talking about emotion, and so he kept at me, and finally I got angry because I was in a bad day. I was feeling extra crappy with everything. It was like fresh. Just everything was just kind of blowing up.
Did Mount Jucano erupt?
Mount Jucano erupted, and literally, it's a recurring thing in my life.
Did you say Mountain Jucano?
Yeah, I'm a Jewish guy that has lots of passion.
I love
right?
that. That's where it comes
reserved.
from. It doesn't happen. Maybe I only see it from you personally. Maybe once every several years, maybe a decade.
Well, if you ask my wife, I mean,
Funny,
it's,
you don't look Jewish.
I know. Well, I don't
Mazel
know.
tov.
This. I mean, I think I get this little nose here. That's my wife snoring at night. It's there. But but long story short is that finally I was like, oh, you want to know Michael Devine? I go, all right. I got my whore of a girl cheated on me with her ex-boyfriend, lied to me, and found out about it 3 weeks before my wedding, and I get to see her every freaking day, and every time we go out on the street, she's out there. So yeah, I'm doing spectacular. It's nice and embarrassing. Everyone asks me what the hell happened, and everyone knows what happened, but everyone acts dumb to it, and I get to see her every single day. So yes, I am awesome. I'm just doing spectacular. So yeah, great, awesome, and it was amazing. I let it out. And I was like, oh, I just realized, says my supervisor. I'm like, shit. And I literally, my head just went down like that.
Overshare.
And I look up, and his arm's out. like this, and like to shake my hand. He goes, "Hi, Michael Devine, Trent Petrie. It's very nice to meet you." And from that moment forward, it was a game changer for me because I've been so long about this veneer of Mike D and who am I, my intelligence, and I just realized that you're right. I just got to let my guard down, and it finally took someone cutting through, going, "Dude, you want to be the greatest therapist in the world, but guess what? You aren't going to be anything unless you figure out how to even connect with yourself, because you can't do that."
Who are
and it
you?
just, yeah, and he delivered it in a way, and he cared about me. He cared about like what I wanted to do. He wanted what I wanted, and he saw something in me. But he also realized I was stubborn and arrogant, and he probably was annoyed as fuck with me. I guarantee if we were to talk with Trent today, he would probably say Mike was an asshole, right? But he saw something in me, and he cut through me in a way that he knew he needed to. And that's my advice to every single employer out there, every parent out there, is that just like he saw that in me, we all see this in them. And instead of just complaining about, instead of just pointing the finger, instead of saying how bad they are, do the same thing. Cut through it, because if you do that, you're going to get an ally. You're going to get trust. You're going to get someone who's going to go to battle with you. And we're talking about how to make this country truly great again. That's how we do it. It's not a catchy slogan. It's not a campaign thing. No, it begins on the grassroots of one person to one person in the trenches. There's a lot more. That's how you make this country great again. People are excited to go to work. They believe in what it is they're doing. We come home. We have work-life balance. That's how we do it.
Bridge generation gaps.
Exactly. We humanize each other. We see what's best in each other, and we acknowledge it. And that's what we need to roll with, So, but that's why we do this show. That's why we do this. And that's why, we have weeks where we have experts on and whatever. But we're all experts in life right here. There's not going to be other people in this room and more experts on what we're talking about right here, right now. You don't need a fucking PhD for that. We just need us, ideas, talking, because that's what we need to get back down to again.
LIVIN.
That's right. So I think on that note, I think we've accomplished what we've set out to. I'm glad everyone, glad Murph, first time on the show. We always have you on chair with QB, but glad to be Murph on.
Well, thanks for having me.
Hutch, you didn't fuck it up, buddy. You did good, man.
Thank God.
I know, man. He's probably pissing himself a little bit. He's a little nervous.
Sorry, World Wide Web. Love you.
Then, of course, Bill, the armchair. As always,
the
buddy.
Armchair? You have an armchair? You have a parting gift?
No. Your gift is you get a place on the network.
I want a T-shirt.
That's what it is.
Can I get a T-shirt?
You could. We're gonna make some. I think we should.
Yes.
I think
that's
we
a
should.
great idea.
Yeah, we're going to. On that note, everybody, I'm Michael Devine. On behalf of myself, the crew here, Porters Network, I am Michael Devine, America's Counselor, and this is Great Matters Radio. And just remember, everyone, like always, someone asks you, hey man, you Democrat, Republican, conservative, Republican, liberal, red, blue, whatever. Next time, go, fuck that noise. My ass is gray. All right, everybody, you be good to each other. Peace.